San Francisco cannot head into 2026 simply hoping talent will fix everything by itself. That is small-time thinking for a roster that expects to control the NFC. Determined, there is game-changing speed trapped in the medical room. For 113 touches demanding a real answer. A recovery that could tempt this team into taking a dangerous gamble, and a valuable asset capable of reshaping the future of this roster. Today, we are judging every decision by what it truly costs. Explosiveness, health, depth, and ambition. Inspirational, contending takes guts, but it also takes intelligence. If you demand no excuse red and gold football, hit that like button and subscribe to 49ers Express. The first situation demands impatience. Jacob Cowing cannot keep being treated like the speedy prospect who always seems 1 week away from finally breaking through. His last regular season catch came in 2024 on that 41-yard gain against the Kansas City Chiefs. Since then, the 49ers have seen flashes, heard praise about his dedication, and waited for his body to cooperate. In 2026, waiting is no longer good enough. Cowing has to get on the field and force Kyle Shanahan to bring back an element this offense has badly missed. The talent is absolutely there. Cowing has the acceleration to eat up ground on intermediate routes, separate on deep crossers, threaten the last line of the defense, and turn a short completion into a serious problem. As a returner during his rookie season, he also showed that the coaching staff trusted him with the football in his hands. One kickoff return went for 32 yards, and he delivered multiple double-digit punt returns. We are not talking about speed that only looks impressive on a workout sheet. We are talking about a player who can change how defensive backs position themselves before the ball is even snapped. Brock Purdy missed exactly that type of weapon. Last season, 63% of his pass attempts traveled 10 yards or less. That number does not represent the quarterback San Francisco wants trapped in a short passing game. In 2023, Purdy attacked the intermediate area on 27% of his attempts. Last season, that rate fell to 21%. With Ricky Pearsall unavailable at times, and without receivers who forced cornerbacks to respect the deep ball, parts of the playbook lost their bite. The swirl routes became much easier to anticipate. Defenders could sit underneath and drive on those throws because almost nobody was making them pay for playing that aggressively. Cowing can punish that behavior. During OTAs, he got behind the secondary more than once. Even when the football does not come his way, his presence stretches the coverage, opens space over the middle, and gives Shanahan options that a contending offense should never have to abandon. But enough of building this case around non-contact practices and off-season praise. Cowing still has 2 years remaining on his rookie contract. His cost is low, and the opportunity sitting in front of him is enormous. None of that guarantees him a place on this roster. The injuries are his biggest opponent. Cowing dealt with hamstring and shoulder problems as a rookie. On the first day of training camp last year, he suffered a serious hamstring strain. He then aggravated it during his recovery, eventually landing on injured reserve for the entire season. He says he has addressed the issue. Great. Now he has to prove that answer throughout camp, handle the workload, and stay available when the speed and intensity begin to rise. The 49ers do not need another exciting spring from Cowing. They need that burst-changing coverages on Sundays. If his body finally keeps pace with his legs, Purdy gets back a weapon capable of opening up the entire field. If there is another physical setback, San Francisco will have to stop building plans around a possibility. On a roster facing pressure to win right now, explosiveness that never reaches the field does not frighten a single defense. And that same discipline has to apply to Christian McCaffrey, because San Francisco needs to accept one hard truth before the season teaches it in the cruelest possible way. Pushing McCaffrey to his absolute limit is not courage. It is negligence. He came roaring back in 2025, produced 2,126 scrimmage yards, scored 17 touchdowns, and won Comeback Player of the Year. It was a monster response. But he also led the NFL with 413 offensive touches. At 30 years old, after everything his body has already endured, asking him to carry that workload again would be gambling with the most versatile weapon in this offense.
His history leaves no room for arrogance. After producing 2,392 scrimmage yards in 2019, McCaffrey appeared in only 3 games in 2020. After clearing 2,000 yards again and winning NFL Offensive Player of the Year in 2023, injuries limited him to 4 games in 2024. That does not prove another injury is coming. It shows the 49ers have received more than enough warnings to create a smarter plan. That is why Kaelon Black matters right away. Bleacher Report's projection included the rookie among the overlooked running backs who could make an impact in 2026. He arrives from Indiana after rushing for 1,040 yards and 10 touchdowns during his final college season. Selected in the 3rd round, Black enters training camp as the favorite to become McCaffrey's primary backup. But that role cannot exist only as a nice line on the depth chart. Black needs to earn meaningful carries. Kyle Juszczyk has already offered a strong clue about what the rookie can provide. He described Black as a ball of muscle, praised his explosiveness through the hole, and said he could feel the rookie's power even during practices without full pads. And the praise did not stop with his physical ability. Juszczyk also highlighted Black's commitment in the meeting room and his ability to absorb Kyle Shanahan's system. That part is critical. Power without processing will not earn snaps in this offense. This is not a choice between McCaffrey and Black. It is about making both players work toward January. If the rookie can handle some of the most punishing carries, keep the running game physical, and prevent every offensive series from depending on number 23, the 49ers will be strengthening McCaffrey, not diminishing his importance. The ideal scenario is not Black becoming the featured back because the starter went down. It is Black developing while McCaffrey stays healthy. San Francisco already knows what happens when this offense loses that weapon. It does not need to test its memory again. Black should earn a role early, even if McCaffrey looks unstoppable in September. A serious contender does not wait for an emergency before developing an alternative plan. It manages the workload now so its most dangerous player can be unleashed when the season stops forgiving mistakes. That same discipline applies to George Kittle, but the temptation is even stronger here. When he tore his Achilles in January, the expectation was that he would miss roughly the first 2 months of the regular season. Now, according to Vic Tafur, his recovery has progressed so well that a Week 1 return has entered the conversation. That is incredible. It is also exactly when the 49ers need to be even stronger than the player himself. Kittle is 32 years old, plays every snap like somebody just insulted the entire Bay Area, and has never been known for accepting limitations easily. That level of commitment built his identity. But 2025 showed the price of playing that way. He injured his hamstring in Week 1 and missed 5 games. He then tore 2 ligaments in his ankle in Week 16 before suffering the Achilles injury against the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs. Kittle later acknowledged that compensating for the damaged ankle contributed to the injury in his other leg. Being ahead of schedule cannot automatically become permission to play. Kyle Juszczyk said the original conversations pointed toward a return in November, but now he believes Kittle has a legitimate chance to play in the Week 1 opener in Australia. The tight end is already running up to 16 miles per hour. He has added cuts and single-leg box jumps to his training. Those are outstanding signs a little more than 6 months after an Achilles tear. They still cannot reproduce the chaos of an NFL game. The trip to Australia complicates everything. There is a long flight, a major disruption to the routine, and the natural pressure to turn the season opener into a spectacle. But San Francisco is not trying to win a medical headline in September. The 49ers need Kittle blocking, breaking tackles, and destroying coverages when the NFC is demanding everything from the team still standing. If the medical imaging, the strength in his leg, and a complete progression through practice show that he is truly ready, nobody should hold him back only because of fear. But if there is any shortcut in his preparation, the answer has to be no. No negotiation. The 49ers have already seen what happens when a warrior tries to protect one injury and ends up creating another. Faithful, take over the war room. If Kittle receives medical clearance, are you sending him onto the field in Australia, or are you choosing the more patient return? Drop your decision in the comments, because protecting George Kittle also means refusing to let his courage be used against his own body. Then the conversation reaches Mac Jones, and the worst thing John Lynch could do is mistake movement for progress. Bleacher Report suggested that San Francisco explore a trade before the season, as long as the return is a second-round pick. That condition changes everything. Trading a proven backup for any offer that simply looks interesting would be reckless. Turning him into a second-round pick would be aggressive asset management. Those are two completely different situations. The 49ers enter training camp with an outstanding quarterback situation. Brock Purdy is the starter. Jones has already proven that he can run this offense. Adrian Martinez brings experience as the third option, while Curtis Rourke remains a developmental piece after spending last season on the NFI list while recovering from a torn ACL. On paper, that looks like enough depth to move somebody. Last season showed how quickly that argument can collapse in a single afternoon. Purdy missed 8 games. Jones had to play through injuries. Rourke was unavailable. If San Francisco had entered that season believing 2 quarterbacks were enough, the drop-off could have been brutal. It is easy to call a backup quarterback a luxury in July. In November, when the starter absorbs the full force of a blitz and stays down a little too long, that same player becomes protection for the entire season. That is why Lynch should not lower his asking price simply because the calendar keeps moving. Reports have indicated that teams viewed San Francisco's price as too high, and no trade has happened. Good. The market needs to feel the pressure, not the 49ers. Another team could lose a quarterback during training camp, lose faith in its backup, or realize that its quarterback room is nowhere close to ready. At that point, Jones's value could rise. Trading him now for an ordinary pick would mean solving another franchise's problem, while weakening one of the greatest safeguards on San Francisco's roster. There is also the future calculation. If Jones leaves in free agency next offseason, the Niners could receive a compensatory pick that, under a favorable projection, might become a conditional third-round selection in the 2028 NFL Draft. That outcome is not guaranteed because the compensatory formula depends on other roster moves. Even so, it creates a strategic floor. If San Francisco can keep a dependable backup for the entire season and still potentially recover draft value later, accepting a low offer now makes absolutely no sense. A second-round pick in 2027, however, deserves serious consideration. That draft capital could help the 49ers add young, affordable talent, attack an important roster need, or even be used in another trade. San Francisco would still have Martinez and Rourke behind Purdy, but before accepting anything, Lynch would have to answer one question inside that building. Is the rest of this quarterback room prepared to survive if 2025 tries to happen again? My position is firm. If the offer is a second-round pick, put it on the table and examine every consequence. If it is anything less, hang up the phone. Mac Jones is not taking up a useless roster spot. He is protecting the ambitions of a team that has already paid a heavy price for instability at the most important position. A contender does not surrender that insurance just to look active. It forces the market to pay the price of urgency. If nobody pays, Jones stays, Purdy remains protected, and San Francisco keeps an advantage that almost every team in the NFL would love to purchase. This episode does not end with a comfortable promise. It ends with a demand. San Francisco has to turn talent into availability and depth into a real advantage. Cowing has to prove that his speed can survive the calendar. McCaffrey and Kittle need to be protected from the same courage that makes them special. And Mac Jones can leave only if the market pays the price of contender insurance. That is the difference between managing names and building a season capable of surviving all the way to February. If you demand decisions worthy of the red and gold standard, share this video, subscribe to 49 ERS Express, and come back tomorrow. Nobody gets applause here for almost getting it right.